Imagine living your entire life without ever seeing your own face even once. You spend 20, 40, or 60 years not knowing what you look like. You have never seen the exact color of your eyes in the light. You do not know the precise shape of your nose or your chin. You do not know how your lips actually curve when you start laughing. You perfectly remember every single crack in the bark of your favorite tree. You can recognize every person in your tribe just by their quiet footsteps. But you remain absolutely invisible to yourself. Your face is an unsolved mystery. Now, fast forward to today. You wake up and look in the mirror. You walk down the busy street and catch your reflection in shop windows. You pull out your smartphone and the black screen stares right back immediately. You sit on a video call and stare at your own little box. Instead of looking at them, you spend the entire time watching your face. You know, every microscopic flaw, every single wrinkle, and every slight facial asymmetry. We have completely merged with our reflection. It became an extension of us. But for 99% of human history, this moment simply did not exist. So how did ancient humans live in a harsh world without any mirrors? How did they understand who they were if they never actually saw themselves? For hundreds of thousands of years, the only available mirror was wild nature. A quiet riverbed, a deep puddle after rain, or a still forest lake. But nature is a terrible portrait artist. Water is rarely perfectly calm anywhere. A slight breeze, river currents, and mud at the bottom break the image. Ancient humans could only see a dark, shivering silhouette on the water surface, a blurry smudge without any clear details. But the strangest part begins next. Because they could not examine their faces, they lacked our concept of beauty. They could not stand there and obsessively hunt for tiny skin imperfections daily. There was absolutely no physical way to evaluate themselves from the outside perspective. Your face simply did not belong to you. It belonged to the tribe. Your perception of yourself was built entirely on what other people told you. If people smiled when they looked at you, you instantly felt very pleasant. If they instinctively recoiled from you, you felt like a threatening, dangerous presence. You only discovered who you were through the reflection in other people's eyes. And this is where everything becomes frightening. Psychologists agree on one major thing. Before the invention of mirrors, modern individualism simply did not exist at all. In those ancient times, the idea of I was inseparable from the we. Survival depended entirely on the group. If you were left alone, you died. Therefore, your mind was directed strictly outward at the dangerous external physical world. You focused on other people, wild nature, finding calories, and spotting deadly predators. You never once thought, how do I look right now in this moment? That specific concept simply did not exist anywhere in human neural mental pathways. You were just a functioning gear within the living mechanism of your tribe. But that is only half the story. 8,000 years ago, everything changed. In modern Turkey, ancient humans found black volcanic glass and began polishing it. They polished it for hours until the dense surface faintly reflected the light. These were the very first proto-mirrors. But they gave a creepy, mystical reflection. People never used them to fix their hair. To them, this was magic. A mirror was considered a direct, dangerous portal straight into the spirit world. The reflection was perceived as the actual soul trapped inside the cold stone. This is exactly where the roots of the world's oldest superstition come from. Breaking a mirror meant shattering your soul and bringing 7 years of curses. Millennia passed. In ancient Egypt, pharaohs used heavy discs made of polished bronze. But they still gave a murky image, and they were impossibly expensive objects. 99% of the population still lived and died without seeing their face. Now imagine the worst. The Middle Ages arrive on the island of Murano. Master Venetian glassblowers invented something that would permanently change the human species forever. They coated flat, transparent glass with a microscopically thin layer of shiny metal. The Venetian mirror was born. A human's reflection finally became absolutely, perfectly clear. When people looked into these mirrors, they experienced a genuine psychological, cultural shock. They simply could not pull themselves away. They saw how their lips moved. They saw how their foreheads wrinkled in surprise. They saw unique microscopic details. And that is what changed everything. Historians argue it catalyzed the Great Renaissance. Man looked at himself and realized his existence as a separate, independent individual. The focus of attention shifted away from the tribe directly onto the person. We started painting self-portraits. We started writing personal diaries about our inner thoughts. We became literally obsessed with our own uniqueness. We finally found our I. But we had to pay a colossal price for this new evolutionary gift. With the invention of the mirror, we acquired an eternal, totally ruthless critic. We started maniacally comparing ourselves to others, purely based on our physical appearance. But then comes the part almost nobody talks about. Fast forward to today. Modern technology took this ancient tool and turned it into a mass weapon. It became a weapon of mass destruction, aimed directly at our fragile psyche. We evolved in small groups where a face was just a functional tool. Today, we spend endless hours just staring at ourselves through high-resolution digital cameras. We use filters that distort our features to impossible, entirely inhuman beauty standards. Scientists are openly sounding the alarm. Our ancient psyche cannot handle this load. We are suffering from mass body dysmorphia. We constantly reject our own bodies. We feel not good enough because we are under constant, merciless video surveillance. And the most terrifying part is that we are the ones watching ourselves. We have ended up locked inside a tight cage made of our reflections. Having gained the ability to see ourselves perfectly, we lost our true identity. We have become the most lonely, anxious generation in the history of humans. Ancient humans saw a faceless silhouette, but they knew exactly who they were. Today, we see ourselves in perfect clarity hundreds of times a single day. But when we look in the mirror now, we ask, who is that?